Hey there, this is Jeremy Pearson, and I'm going to share with you some practical spirituality perspective on archangels. So somebody asked me recently about archangels, and so I thought I put together a talk that I wrote, and so I'm just going to read it to you, and I'd love to hear what you think. So here we go. So I want to talk about archangels, angels, and guardian angels, not in terms of what they are, but instead in terms of how they're experienced. Because in practical spirituality, the goal is not to define the unseen perfectly, because how am I going to do that? But instead, the goal is to understand how support actually shows up in real human life. So there may not be an actual difference in the source of the guidance, but there is a difference in how the guidance meets us as humans. And the clearest way that I've found to explain that difference is through this analogy. The difference between a kindergarten teacher and a college professor. Guardian angels as the kindergarten teachers. A kindergarten teacher teaches the student. They stay close, they repeat themselves, they slow things down. They don't say, figure it out. They notice confusion immediately and then they sit with you until you get it. This is how guardian angel experiences tend to feel. Guardian angel experiences are personal, they're close, they're protective, patient, and relational. They show up often as maybe just being stopped before something goes wrong, feeling watched over, or a quiet, don't do that. A sense of safety when you shouldn't have had it. Something staying with you until you stabilize. This isn't about growth yet. This is about safety and survival. Guardian angels meet you where you are and they stay with you there. Just a quick side note about the guardian angels. Often, if they do appear in human form, it'll be someone that'll show up unexpectedly. It could be someone that you've seen before or not. That's not the important part. The important part is that you feel that you get some guidance that you weren't expecting, and then somehow you're being redirected, and then they disappear. They go away, and there's no way to thank them or follow up. And maybe you don't even know who they are, and maybe someone will tell you there was nobody here. So those are different ways that it can happen, but one of the key things is that there's no way to follow up. That's usually one of the key things, and you feel like you've been given guidance and support that was not in the ordinary. So now we're going to move to regular angels and archangels, especially. These are the college professors. A college professor teaches the subject. They present the material clearly. They make the truth available. They don't chase you down the hallway. They don't sit beside you holding the pencil. They don't take it personally if you don't engage. The information is there. Take it or don't. That's up to you. That is how archangel experiences tend to feel. They are clear, strong, focused, and non coercive, oriented toward truth and alignment. They show up as sudden clarity, a powerful internal yes or no, a moment of courage, a truth you can't unsee, a clear path becoming visible without pressure. You're not comforted at first, you're aligned first. And I'll do a video about my experience with archangels as well as with guardian angels. I'll do a separate video about my personal experiences. But what I can tell you is that when the archangels happen to me, it's impressive and it's intimidating, and I'm not scared, but I'm also not comforted at first. That was the key thing from my own personal experiences. But it did change me. It aligned me with something that was important for me. Why this difference exists. The difference is not about rank. It's about what the moment requires. When I was writing this, I checked in with my guidance that I was receiving intuitively, and I asked about that, and they made it very clear that I was not to make this seem like the archangels are better or more powerful or anything like that. It's not about that at all. They said no, it's only about what their job is. They have a different job. So that was a really important thing that I'm supposed to say. So the difference is not about rank, it's about what the moment requires. When someone is overwhelmed, unsafe, or ungrounded, they need a kindergarten teacher. And when someone is ready for responsibility, choice, and alignment, they need a professor. Same intelligence, same support, different delivery, and a different need. Support adapts to readiness. This brings us to the names of the archangels. Names like Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, or Uriel are not really names in the way that people have them as far as humans. They are frequencies of experience. They point to how support will be felt, not who is being addressed. Someone named Gabriel sitting next to me, a human, is one thing, but calling on Archangel Gabriel is something else entirely. And even then, the name still isn't what matters. In lived spiritual experience, names function more like tuning forks when you're calling out to the archangels. They're not really labels. They orient consciousness toward a particular kind of experience. Michael points toward protection and integrity. Gabriel points toward truth and clarity, etc. And I'm going to do a separate video with all of the archangels and explaining what each one of them does. So the name is not the power. The need is the power. The need in the human is the power. What calls an archangel is not vocabulary. It's not belief. It's not saying the words right. It's the moment that you're in. Sometimes the call can sound like, help, I can't do this. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's surrender. Sometimes it's just giving up control. That state, that honesty is the call. You can use any word you want. You can use no words at all. Support does not respond to language. It responds to truth. At the deepest level, archangels can be understood as principles in form, not personalities, not external authorities, not characters in the sky. Principles. Courage is a principle, truth is a principle, healing is a principle, protection is a principle, wisdom is a principle. And principles do not need belief in order to function, they operate by alignment. When someone calls on an archangel, what they're really doing is aligning themselves with the principle that knows how to organize the experience. When you call in a principle, you're not asking for someone or something outside of you to intervene. You're asking to align yourself with a lawful pattern of reality. When someone calls on truth, illusion falls away. When someone calls on courage, strength arrives. When someone calls on healing, the next healing step becomes visible. When someone calls on protection, boundaries naturally strengthen. That organizing intelligence is what traditions personified as archangels, not because the principle needed a face, but because humans needed a way to relate to it. People invoke archangels all the time without realizing it by saying, I need truth, I need strength, I can't keep living like this, I surrender, I'm done fighting. These are not emotional outbursts. These are invocations of principle. And when the invocation is honest, the principle responds. And as I wrote this, I just want to say I could have Googled things, I could have fact checked, but I didn't do any of that. And I encourage you to go ahead and follow up like that if you wish. But I shared my own lived experience, and to me, that's the only evidence that I need to share. So, follow up on it if you want to. Google it, see what happens. I'd love to hear about it. Because this is not a theory to me. This is my lived experience. It's reality. So in closing, you don't call archangels with names. You don't call them with names. You call them with honesty. You don't summon support with words. You open to it with surrender. Sometimes you need someone to sit with you. Sometimes you need truth placed on the table. Sometimes you need protection. Sometimes you need clarity. Sometimes you need healing. Support meets you at the level you're ready to receive it. And when you align with a principle, life reorganizes around it. That's not mysticism. That's how it really works.